Hi everybody, this is Mr. Rocco here. Today for our experiment we are going to be investigating convection. And so what we have in our experiment is we're going to set up a model of convection inside the earth. So we have a round pie plate and I've got hot water inside the pie plate. So that's going to represent our heat source in this investigation. And then we have a plastic beaker with cold water. And what we're going to do is two different experiments. So I'm going to start by taking some blue food coloring and I'm going to put a drop just underneath the surface of the water, of the cold water, near the edge. And I want you guys to watch what happens. So observe what the food coloring is doing. Okay, so I put a drop in and watch very carefully what is happening to the food coloring. So you can see it's sinking to the bottom. We're going to watch here for a minute or two and observe what it's doing. All right, so now you can see right here, some of the food coloring is starting to rise up. And you can see when it gets to the top, it starts to sink back down. So what we're doing here is we're creating a convection current that's transferring heat from the warm water that is in the center of the earth, as simulated by our pie plate. And it's going through the layers of rock, which is represented by the plastic. And you can see how the warm water becomes less dense and it starts to rise up in different places. And when it gets further away from the heat source, it cools down and it starts to sink. You can actually see these circular currents. These are called convection currents. So now we're going to try the second experiment. All right, we're back for our second experiment. In this experiment, we're going to use the same setup, but instead of putting the drop on the edge and underneath the surface of the water, we're going to put the drop in the middle of our beaker, and we're going to put it right at the surface. So here we go. I want you to watch and observe what is happening to the drop of food coloring. Whoops, I put two drops in. That's okay. So you can see right away it sinks down to the center. You can see it's sinking down. And if we watch for a little while, we're going to see something happen that's kind of cool. So if you observe, you can see it's sinking down in the center, but you can see it's actually starting to rise up on the edges. Okay, so just like we saw in the last experiment, you can see it's creating a current that goes from the center of the beaker, it goes along the bottom, and then that warm water is rising up. So this is the process called convection that allows heat to transfer from one location to another. And this process is happening inside the interior of our Earth. You can imagine that the mantle is literally flowing extremely slowly. It's not happening as quick as you see here, but the rock is literally moving a few millimeters a year. So it's not happening nearly as quick as you see here because this is a fluid. This process actually happens inside the earth when hot molten rock rises to the surface and cool rock sinks to the bottom. So this has been an experiment on convection. After you've watched this video, you need to work through the analysis questions. You can pause and rewind this video as many times as you need to see what's going on. Here's a top view of kind of what happened. If you have any questions, send me a message. Send your science teacher a message in Schoology.